Hello, this is Carol Tolman, co-author of Letters and a fiery supporter of everyone that has an interest in literacy for children and adults of all ages. Thank you for inviting me to say a hello and a little welcome as you celebrate International Science of Reading Day. What an exciting opportunity. And I appreciate all the passion and interest that has gone into making sure that every child can learn to read at high levels. Let me tell you, I guess, a little bit about the defining moment for me in my life. I guess if I would think about my career, for me, I've been in education pretty much all my life. I started out as a special educator and worked in a prison system right outside of Boston for a while with adjudicated delinquent adolescents. I then became much more interested in working in public school where all children and young adults would be. I started working at a high school, middle school, and then eventually elementary as I worked my way down, understanding that if we get our students early and really could intervene in early intervention was sort of the key, then I didn't have to experience all the angst and passion and frustration that my students had when they were pre-adolescents and adolescents in the public schools or in the prison system. It was really very difficult for them. I would say, though, that I went many, many years teaching, sadly, without knowing what I needed to know in order to impact big change. And for me, because I was so excited, loved my students, loved their families, I thought that was enough. And I did what I thought I could do, followed the program, did what I thought I was supposed to do. And I always got this much growth in my students. I never could really close the gap. And I didn't really believe, frankly, that it was possible. I just thought we would just do the best that we could and that would be okay. The defining moment for me to really understand that I didn't have to settle, which was really an exciting finding, was one day. And if you can picture this, I am probably like 8.5 months pregnant with my first daughter, Michaela, at the time in a new school in New Hampshire, southwestern New Hampshire. And I was a special educator. It happened to be in a high school at that point. And as I was teaching, there was a parent who had sued the school district, and I was chosen to be the expert witness for due process hearings. So, just did my job. People came in, lawyers came in and observed what I was doing. The advocate would come in and observe what I did. The parent would come in, of course, and observe what I did. And one day the advocate came and said, tomorrow you're going to have an expert witness come and take a look at what you're doing here. And I said, okay, send them on in. And the next day, unbeknownst to me, in walked the change in my life because in walked Louisa Moats. Never heard of her. I was in my middle of my master's degree, never even knew who she was and what she did at the time. But she came in and she was very gracious and, of course, extremely well informed and observed me. And at the end of the day said, I'm not going to be the expert witness against you in this case, she said, but there are a few things about the English language that you don't know, that you don't have in represented in your programming. And I was dumbfounded. I'm like, really? There's something else that I could be doing in order to impact change in a much more efficient, effective manner? Please tell me what that is. So she wrote me a letter and then she came back. I just kind of asked her to come back and she was gracious enough to spend about, a few hours with me just walking through the information of the layers of language that I really didn't have. I didn't know. Interestingly enough, of course, after that, I was so thirsty to get that information. So that was the turning point for me. I decided to finish that master's degree I was in, which was pretty useless at the point, get it done so I could get into a doctoral program. And at that time, I decided that my doctoral program had to speak to everything that Louisa explained to me that was missing. And this is way before letters. This was pre-letters. So there wasn't really great professional development out there beyond hit or miss, right? Finding the right place or the right people. So I got into a program, learned what I needed to learn in order to impact great change for my students, and started to see, even at the high school level at that point, kids soar, like really, and the gaps begin to be closed, or at least close to closed. And this is almost unheard of for freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and seniors. But it wasn't good enough for me because at that point I realized, well, I shouldn't be waiting until they are adolescents to close the gap, it would be so much better, and it would be really kinder and much more efficient if I worked back. So I went into middle school and kind of spread some of the programming and ideas, and then of course eventually ended up in elementary to make sure that what it is that we know is best practice was started really early. There's no reason that somebody has to wait all that time in order to get what they need in middle school or high school. So that was sort of my defining moment, and I became a little, fangirl of Louisa's, of course, and tried to learn everything that I could about what she had to offer and others as I read and studied. And then from there, she had invited me to begin our journey together with letters. I guess what I have also learned too, if I were to say, well, what I would like to share for those of you who are kind of new to this, be kind to yourselves. It takes a while. I was really frustrated and I was very overwhelmed and thirsty for information. But I guess some people have, there are a couple of sayings out there that I draw upon. One is go slow to go fast. That is that there's so much information to know that take your time, think carefully about what program or approach or way in which you want to do your learning is best for you. You can assess what area or areas are strong or weak. Of course, what I like to do is to go to IDA, the Knowledge and Practice Standards, and just rate yourself, right? I used to rate myself. What do I know about these layers of language for instruction and assessment? And that helped drive what I needed to really focus on. So that helped, so that I got much more of a well-rounded education instead of just reading a little bit of this or a little bit of this or a little bit of that. So really go slow to go fast, be kind to yourself, be open-minded, and really listen. I think one of the things that I hope for our future is that we're able to hear and really care for each other and listen to each other. It's very difficult when we have deep-seated, heartfelt beliefs about certain things. It's difficult to change. However, it's kids' lives really at stake with all of this. So if I were to hope, I would make the suggestion, of course, to go slow to go fast, to think through what you need and go after that with great gusto. And in addition to that, of course, be kind to others and be thoughtful of what it is that you're reading, what you're learning. Ask the good questions in an approachable way, right? Not in a defensive, angry way. But I hope that we are able as a literacy community to learn how to grow and change and impact that change within schools. Together. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that this is a tipping point, and I want to congratulate the Facebook Science of Reading group, Donna's work, and many of you who have been supportive of this group all the way through. Welcome to a great day. And again, take good care with your journey in literacy.